the four associations, its office bearers, my mentor in many ways, Mr. P.C. Joshi. I still remember when I first spoke in Hyderabad in 1998, he was my chairman then, and I had spoken on amendments to Rule 12 and Section 6 of the GST Act 1956. So the confidence that he gave me then actually gives me the confidence to stand here and speak a few words on the GST law. So thank you so much. Quite a few of my friends here, Rajat Bhai, whom I've known, I don't know, for more than 2 decades now. We work quite closely. My colleague Pritisha, who's put up all these issues for today called glitches. Some of it appear to be glitches, some of it is much more than a glitch. Some of it have been addressed by the government yesterday, but we are still not away from the problems. So I thought that this session I should concentrate on some real issues. While we were fairly certain, I was talking to Mr. P.C. Joshi in Kolkata also when I met him about a month back, that we were fairly certain that the government will clear all these glitches. Some of it they will clear. But some of it we knew that they would want to experience the pain and then clear it. But somehow I believed that this government was not listening to us for at least 3 months. Now they at least hear, and some bit of work has gone into it. But a lot more needs to be done in the coming 3 months if GST needs to really succeed. I was speaking to Rajat in maybe late May, early June, when the final bit of law was not yet in place. Both of us experienced concerns that this is not the GST that we were looking for when we started work on goods and service tax 5 years back to tell the government what is the kind of GST that we are looking at. All of us here as professionals understand that almost 17 laws have merged into one. So it is going to be a complicated piece of legislation. We were aware that it will be complicated. But we only believe that the procedural issues that will be laid down by the government will be far better than what is happening now on the ground. Now, lastly, I must also tell you that while I don't practice on forms, filling of forms, etc., my office actually tells me the kind of pain that we undergo when we fill in these forms on the portal. So what I thought was, when we look at the first of the slides that come up here, let us start with some of the issues that we face from the portal itself. And I will take probably 3 to 5 issues on each of the glitch that I think is required. One. Now look at the first one. When I look at the GST portal for registration, the law tells me that in 3 to 4 common working days I will be granted the registration. Put up your hands here. How many of you have got the registration in 4 working days?
Now ask her.
Yeah. Right? In 4 common working days. It doesn't happen. Now let me tell you my experience. Mr. P.C. Joshi really summed it up very nicely. Karnataka is a pioneer in creating problems. And we do it religiously. Now, we have files in our office. I don't even need to speak about other professionals, where we have filed applications for registration in the middle of September 2017, which is almost 3 weeks now. We are yet to get registrations. We are not even notified what is the difficulty with my application. Now, if I were to get my GST in the normal course in line with law, I should have got my number. At least so far as service tax law was concerned, Rajat, correct me if I am wrong, your registration number was your PAN number followed by state code or whatever it is. In GST we can't do that because you have 3 more digits which come up later. So you can't even follow that formula to say, okay, PAN number followed, state code followed by PAN number is going to be a TIN number. No, it's not going to be. So the last 3 digits are the ones which are going to create trouble. So I don't have my number at all. And look at my difficulty when my registrations are not granted. One, I am not sure whether the buyer is going to effect purchase from me since I don't have the TIN number, whether I purchase, whether I am going to get my input tax credit. 3, whether I need to issue invoices and subsequently issue revised invoices so that the buyer can get input tax credit. All of it is a pain, all of it is a problem. It is just not solved. I'll give you 2 other practical cases in respect of registration. Attempt it. Go back to your offices and try and attempt it. Now, we have what is called as this authorized signatory so far as this portal or network is concerned. I have 2 cases in my office which is a reality. I will even name the company. One of it is Toyota. What happened in Toyota's case is the authorized signatory or the primary signatory retired. He retired. On July 31, 2017, he retired from service on superannuation. Now the portal does not allow me to change that signature. And my DSC of the retired employee is somebody which I cannot consciously use to file my return. How do I file my return? And Toyota is not a small company. It's not a small entity. My taxes run into several crores every month. So we moved, as Mr. Joshi said, Infosys in Bangalore. We asked them, this is the problem, what do we do? He said, you pay your tax, you file your return later. Huh? I pay my tax and don't file my return, how does it work? It doesn't work like that. I need to file my return and then pay my taxes, or I need to file my return and along with it pay my taxes. I cannot pay my taxes and then file my return like advance tax under income tax law. It is not a workable solution. Now, to overcome this, we said, okay, at least authorize another signatory, because all these people went with one signatory. They are all governed by a company law resolution saying, let's say one Rajat will be authorized to affix his digital signature, etc. They don't give a second or third, all these multinational companies. Now look at the problem here. 1, we couldn't file the return. 2, the government could not set it right. Same company, another issue. They migrated under VAT law, but they did not migrate under service tax law and excise law. They did not migrate. The website does not permit you to file your returns. It is extremely difficult. You just go and figure out. It will tell you that there is a problem in filing these returns. Now, the bigger difficulty here was that they had a registration as a large taxpayer unit, LTU, with 2 permanent account numbers. So what the website did, it migrated VAT with 1 permanent account number with which I was not filing my income tax return but was only for LTU purposes. Now it said, you have a website error. Now I don't know whether my authorized signatory is an error, my permanent account number is an error, my non-migration under excise and service tax law is an error. One company I have this many number of errors, where do I go? And the man is retired. And this is not a small company with problems. We have enough problems in this company. Now I will give you a second situation of a GST and headache. We have another entity in our office where I think Rajat knows this company. I will name this company also. Senapati Vetli. It is one of the largest manufacturers of machinery in Bangalore. Now the managing director who was authorized signatory in this case died. He died. Now the website is telling me you need to use the DSC of a dead man to actually create an authorized signatory position for another person. How can I do it? I cannot do it. I can't do it. Now the man is dead. He says you put that DSC, then you change the authorized signatory. How can I do it? I really cannot do it because somebody files a case against me later. Man is dead 2 weeks before. I can't use his DSC today because my IP address will be trailed. I can't do it. Now, did they think about it? Did they not think about it? Were they aware of it? Not aware of it? God alone knows. So we had to move the government again. Now the government says you have to wait for 4 weeks. 4 weeks. Then we will create a portal in case of such situations when you can change. So I said, how do I file my return now? It is okay. There they say, you file a manual copy of 3B with your LVO, local VAT officer. This is the problem. Okay, right. I will file my manual return, no difficulty because man is dead. Fine, I have to comply with law. I will engage PC Joshi sir to file my case later. I will fight my case later. That's another part. But the man is gone. Let's assume hard copy of the return is filed because I will not be able to put my DSC. First class. What happens to my GSTR 1, which is now due on October 10? I can do nothing without this signature, but to use this is against my conscience because man is not available. Now these are the glitches which are plain, simple changes that are required to be done. They say primary changes are allowed, secondary changes are allowed, some of it is allowed, some of it is not allowed. I say you allow everything in one shot. Yeah, this is my registration formality. What is wrong with the government? I am paying my tax, I am filing my return, you are not allowing me to make any changes. How do I file my return? I think this is primary. The government must look at this, failing which we will not be in a position to file our returns. This probably is the reason why the government pushed the TDS TCS provisions and pushed the provisions relating to reverse charge mechanism to 1/4/2018. I think they are not ready. They are just not telling us, and this government does not listen. Therefore, they have moved it, not for any other reason. 2. Difficulty in customization of software suppliers in variety of goods and services. Look at this position here. The rates of taxes are changed every week. Your exemptions are changed every week. Your threshold limits are changed every week. Every week it is changing. Something or the other is changing. Your exempted commodities or reverse charge commodities are changed every week. Your HSN codes or commodities covered under codes are changed every week. How do I program my software? How do I program? No ASP, GSP will be able to help you. He is also in the same position. He is also in the same position. No Oracle SAP will be able to do anything for you. Now, look at the difficult part. Difficult part. Originally you said I was taxable, let's say at 5%. 2 months later you came out with a notification and said, listen, you are exempt. What happens to my tax collected and remitted? I have 3 penalties which are staring at me. 1, because I have already filed my return, filed or paid my taxes net of input tax credit. The customer is after my blood saying I am exempt from 1st of July, kindly give me a refund of my taxes which I cannot return to him. 3rd, there will be a forfeiture of tax which I have collected from the customer. 4, I don't even know whether my customer will be permitted input tax credit because notification says exempt from July 1. Because I have charged tax. Last of it is penalty for wrongful collection. Now the government is telling us, we will be good to you, we will do this to you, we will not harass you, there will be no interest, there will be no penalty, issue one notification here, don't keep talking. Just issue one notification, not till 31st December, there is no interest, there is no penalty. You don't want to do that, you just want to keep telling. On top of that, there will be press releases where you will keep threatening us to say that you will be jailed, you will do this, there is anti-profiteering, we will go after you and all of this stuff. So on one part, you keep changing the rates. On the other part, if I have collected and paid, I have got a threat of loss of my tax, I can't return it to my customer. 4, forfeiture is staring at me. 5th, the buyer who has taken input tax credit on the strength of my tax invoice where I have already collected tax is the threat of losing that input tax credit because it is exempt with retrospective effect. Where do I go? Where do I go? If this is not a glitch, what else is this? Let the government, when they come out with a notification, as Mr. PC Joshi is saying, let them have the courage, let them have the gall to say that collected taxes will not be forfeited and the buyer will get input tax credit. Why are you not saying this? Is the government short of wisdom? Is nobody advising the government that you cannot do this? Or they say, okay, let's see 3 years later, whatever happens will happen. 3 years later, trust me, only Mr. Joshi should take us to court. No officer is going to help you. He is only going to tell you, give me a notification, give me a circular, give me a rule where it says that you are entitled to input tax credit. All that the notification will tell you is that it is exempt with retrospective effect. Therein lies the difficulty. Now, look at the accounting part of it. Those of you who are in accounting. Now, let's say Rajat is doing an accounts or signing a statutory financial statements of a company, he can only turn around and say the company has collected tax on an exempt commodity, period, over. He is not going to say it came in with retrospective effect, it came after representation, it came after memorandum. He will say it is incorrectly collected tax, period, matter over. That's all. Once you say that, your job is 100% forfeiture. Your job is to pay collected taxes fully to the government. You cannot net off input tax. If it is exempt, input restricted, output payment. Be careful. Be careful. No net payment, output payment, input restricted. It is a double whammy. It's a double-edged sword. You lose both. So by virtue of giving an exemption 3 months later, the man who's got exemption has actually suffered cash loss, according to me. He suffered cash loss. Now if we don't realize this now, this man is going to be in difficulty 3 years later. Please be careful. He is going to be in difficulty 3 years later. Let's look at a second issue on the customization of software related problem. You take HSN codes. HSN codes. Rajat doesn't even want to see my face because he knows the problem. Huh? Okay. Now look at the HSN codes, issue relating to HSN codes. We have a notification which says up to 1.5 crores, no HSN code is required. Agreed? Between 1.5 and 5, you need a 2-digit HSN code. Beyond 5 crores, you need a 4-digit HSN code. I have no difficulty. Look at an entity which is an importer or exporter. I have to give you an 8-digit code, which is mandatory. Agreed? This is the law. This is the law. Now, I'll give you one simple example of, let's say, software. Is it 8523 or is it service under 99? You go and get an opinion. Please go and get an opinion from any chartered accountant or a lawyer. Let him give it in writing. I will give you half a dozen opinions, reverse of what each one is giving. I'm not joking. I'm really not joking. I'm dead serious of what I'm speaking. Microsoft is using 8523 for software. Let me tell you this. You can go back, make a purchase, see it. 8523. There are several other software companies which use the service code of 99. Which one is correct? Microsoft will upload with 85, whether you will invert with 85 or will you amend your GSTR2 with 99. Please look at this problem. So don't ever think that this HSN is not an issue. It is one of the biggest issues that you have. Look at a case where for 8523, today let us say it is 12%, tomorrow 8523's rate is changed to 18 or 28. Government can do anything. It can be 18 or it can go to 28 or go down to 5. Last year you used 8523 versus 9973 simply because the rates were same. Assume it is 18%. Next year if rate changes, you cannot change your HSN code. You cannot change. Product is the same. How can you change your HSN code? Product doesn't change. Nothing changes between yesterday and today. It is just that the rate of tax has changed. HSN code is going to be one of the largest ever litigations that we are going to fight over the next 10 years. And watch out, it is not easy. I have just taken one example. 3. This proper officer business is actually creating one headache. It's really creating one big headache. Now I want to know who is this proper officer for, let us say, Talati and Company, which is an audit firm. Whether it was my old service tax officer, or whether it was my jurisdictional VAT officer, or whether it is my officer as notified under 1/2017 of the central law, where based on PIN codes notifications were issued. Who is my proper officer? All I want to tell you is please take a LUT, letter of undertaking. Go and submit that. If that man accepts it, I will get down from the stage. He says, don't give here, you go there. If you go there, he will tell, go to the service tax man. If you go there, he'll say, ठीक है, इधर रख के जाओ, मैं बाद में बात करता हूँ. 3 days later, You will get a certificate or a letter, or he will call you to his office and he will tell you, TK, you give bond, you give this, LUT, etc. Forget amendments for 1 month. He will tell you, give me a bond, give me this, give me that, etc. Whether he is my proper officer, whether he is my jurisdictional officer, whether he is a notified officer, nobody knows. You have a local VAT officer, you also have a service tax officer for the same jurisdiction. Whether you have to do both, whether you go by the notification of 1.5 crores and below or 1.5 crores and above, nobody knows. Difficulty will come only when you are caught. And I will give you an example of how I was caught and what the government told me. I have a jewelry case. She knows. She's only given the opinion for that case. There is no e-waybill. E-waybill is yesterday deferred to April. But e-waybill in Karnataka was in force from July. So we issued an e-waybill. A notification came saying e-waybill for jewelry is not mandatory. Please look out that check out that e-waybill notification. For jewelry it's not mandatory, irrespective of the value being above 50,000. Not mandatory. But we issued to check whether the portal is working and to also ensure compliance with law. Right? In Trivandrum, this car was caught. What did the officer do? The officer physically weighed the jewelry, silver jewelry. There was a difference of 300 grams, 312 grams to be precise, on packing material of silver jewelry. Packing material, not even silver jewelry. I was slapped a penalty of 1,29,000. Now I don't know where to file the appeal. I don't know who is my LVO, who is my proper officer, who is my appellate authority. I have no idea. I am struggling for 1.5 months. August 31st was the order. I am on October 10th. Sorry, you were saying something.
Plus taxes.
Plus taxes. She was telling me, reminding me, plus taxes, penalty plus taxes. Now I don't know where to file my appeal because I don't have a proper officer. The system does not take the hard copy. The officers don't receive the hard copy. The portal for filing appeal is not open. My time limit is 30 days. Where do I go? You want me to file a writ petition? My advocate's charges will be more than this appeal, the penalty that I am paying. Tell me how many dealers can afford. If this is not a GST glitch, what else it is? What else it is? Your portal is not ready, you are slapping penalties. Your portal is not ready, you are telling me use e-waybill. Your e-waybill does not allow me to permit or enter data. I will come back to e-waybill and tell you where we have difficulty. Go back to your officers and attempt it. I want you to attempt it. Simply because it is deferred to April, don't keep quiet because they will come back with the same thing. They will come back and they will harass you after that. So I want you to be aware of what this problem is. Now, I don't know where to file an appeal. Taxes have been collected. In the GST law, let's get clear that your conveyance can be detained. Conveyance is transportation vehicle. My car was stopped in Trivandrum for 3 days because I was carrying jewelry worth 28 lakhs, silver jewelry worth 28 lakhs with proper documents. It was detailed because the excise officer, in fact it was the excise superintendent if I remember, who had sealed. Now I get a doubt whether this man called excise superintendent is really a proper officer or one roadside Romeo who just stopped and we got conned by that man and paid this penalty. We have really no idea what we did. Now in hindsight I need to check back to figure out whether this has really gone into the government kitty or not. This is my position. So it was an excise superintendent. There is no excise superintendent who is notified under law to issue a notice, levy penalty, collect taxes from me. But it has been done. And trade pays because of fear, not because of anything else. Not because of anything else. Now if you succumb and bow down your head, suffer it. If you want to put your head up and fight, you should do it on the day on which the government goes after you. Don't be scared. Nothing will happen. I want you to fight. Next, 3. Are they educated? That's my question now. I have had the occasion. For one moment, I am really not criticizing the government. I am not criticizing. I want us, all of us, to look at it positively. The man who calls himself a service tax officer under old law does not know goods. He does not know goods. He does not know classification of goods. He is purely service tax man. The man who calls himself VAT officer does not know service. This is your local VAT officer. The man who calls himself excise officer, he neither knows service nor knows goods. He only knows excise on manufacture to collect. Period. Over. Now all these three fellows, all these three gentlemen put you into trouble because each of them don't know the other. They don't know the other. Now look at my situation. If my file goes to a service tax officer, he doesn't know what goods is. For example, PFY, polyester filament yarn. He doesn't know whether it is plastic, or he doesn't know whether it is textile, or he doesn't know whether it is something else. Whatever comes to his mind, he will give you one notice. First he will give you one notice, then he will talk to you. पहले notice आ जाएगा, बाद में बात करेगा वो. Now look at my position. When I am a goods man and I go to service, or a service tax man and I go with goods, either way it is a headache, it is a pain to make them understand. The government says we got these people educated, but trust me, on the ground, I want you to visit a service tax officer with a problem in goods. Really, I am telling you, I want you to do it at the ground level and make him understand what HSN for goods is. You will need 3 days to make him understand what plastic is and what rubber is, and he will still not understand it. He will still not understand it. This is the difficulty on the ground. And I am not shying away from saying that we as professionals have also got a phenomenal duty to educate ourselves. We have still not gone away from our old law. We still think goods, we still think sale, we don't think supply, we think provision of service, we don't think supply of service, and we continue to give opinions. We need to change our thought process that we are no longer provision of service, we are no longer sale of goods, we are supply of goods or supply of services or both. Unless we change our mindset, I don't think we are getting it right. We need to change our mindset from a provision of service, sale, to the HSNs that we are talking of here. No goodsman, for example, people like us, other than in respect of a few commodities, we are not used to HSN classification. We are not used to it, except in case of select or notified commodities where we were using HSN for a lower rate of tax. We have not used HSN. Take a provider of service. The man has never used HSN codes. From 1994, he doesn't know. But we have service tax practitioners who have to educate themselves on HSN code. And HSN code is not something which is so easy to understand. It is an 8-digit classification. 4-digit is not good enough. Please don't go by what the government is saying. You will get into trouble 2 years from now. And look at the excise classification. It is slightly different from what we are going to classify under the goods and service tax law. So all of us as professionals need to be educated, not just the government, we as professionals. Now, reverse charge, it is deferred to 1/4/2018. There is another speaker, but I will take only 2 minutes on reverse charge. Now, what is deferred to my mind is 9/4, 9/3 and 9/5 continue to exist. Correct? 9/4 is what is deferred. Now, to my mind, the government has just appeased the masses. Nothing else they have done. They have moved the provision of law to make it effective 1/4. Now, let's look at some difficulties or glitches in what has happened. Okay, you have moved it to 1/4/2018. What happens to my tax which I have already paid? The government will tell you, you have already taken credit. Correct? That is, you have paid tax, you have taken credit, agreed. Look at a situation where I have paid tax under reverse charge, but I am not entitled to input tax credit. I have restricted myself. What happens to that tax? Can you say because it is with retrospective effect moved to 1/4/2018, the input tax credit that I have restricted myself, you will give me refund of that? The government will say, you have restricted it yourself. There is no provision in law to withdraw that restriction or restore that restriction which you have voluntarily created. Another 5 years you will fight this appeal. You are not going to win it.
They would say you have factored in your pricing.
So they will say it is undue enrichment. They will say Chandanmal Champala. They will say Mafatlal and company, and your life goes on in fight. You are not going to win this case at all. Now take a second case. In all of these cases, it was a cash payment. It was a cash payment. I know of entities where input tax credit cannot be utilized for payment of reverse charge. Agreed, Rajat? Agreed? Now in these cases, what has happened? I have an accumulation of credit in the cash ledger, which is August relating to September, September relating to October. Will you give me refund of this money? I don't think the government has thought of this position. I don't think. The moment you now file an application of refund under 54, the government will open its eyes. Just as Rajat was saying, the cash or credit lying in the credit ledger or cash ledger, they are not going to give you refund under 54. They will tell you have factored it in the price. They will tell you even if you have not supplied the goods or services, it is lying in stock. They will tell you that this price was known to you on the date when law came in, therefore you are not entitled to input tax credit. That credit will be denied to you. He will force you to reverse it. He will force you to reverse it. Now what are the options or glitches here? One, in respect of goods where taxes have been remitted, supplied, where supply is complete, and reverse charge credit is pending utilization. Pending utilization, sure short litigation. Sure short litigation. I don't see any other option here at all. It will be an undue enrichment case. It will be Mafatlal and Company's case. You are going to fight this for next 2-3 years. 2. Refund case where credit is lying in the cash ledger. Apply now. Apply now. Go through this pain of being utilized or lying in stock. They will tell you, if you have paid taxes on raw materials, component parts and inputs on which reverse charge was payable, tax on reverse charge was payable, and now it is moved on to the subsequent year, that credit of the previous month is lying there, apply for refund now. Don't utilize it. If you utilize it, they will tell you you have tweaked your price and therefore refund is impermissible. Therefore, apply for refund. Don't set it off against your output tax liability. If you set off, your refund is sure shot gone. You are not going to get that. Therefore, it is better to fight a refund position than to fight an undue enrichment position. Now, look at the difficulty under law. When you go for 54, only 2 classes of refunds are permissible. Right, Rajat? Right? Only 2 classes. One, inverted duty structure or exports. I am nowhere. I am not going to get refund. This credit will accumulate. Now what do we do?
Wrongful payment.
No payment. The fellow will not give you. He is not going to give you refund. That money will lie there. It will lie there. I cannot use it. I cannot get refund. If I apply for refund, he will tell you either you have utilized or you are not entitled to refund under section 54. What options? I have to go to court. I have to go to court. Now, when the government issues these notifications, when the government issues these circulars on reverse charge, I only hope wisdom prevails on the government and they tell us that you are entitled to refund or it will be transferred to credit ledger for utilization of your further taxes. Otherwise, your money is not going to come. It's not going to come. 3. Now, I will skip all this because reverse charge has moved off effective yesterday. Next slide. Now, let's move on to website issues. I have put up 3 classes of transactions there. Transaction 1. Will my network tell me whether your purchase is effected from a composition dealer or whether the credit is on account of an input service distributor or whether it is to an SEZ developer or a unit? Now, we will take each of these examples and let's figure out what the network does, what the portal does, and what it means to us who are individuals in business. 1. Composition supplier input tax credit not available. Correct? Settled position of law. No difficulty there. But if the website is not going to tell me also that look, you are effecting a purchase from a composition dealer, then I have difficulty because the man cannot collect tax, but the law does not prevent me from issuing an invoice without reflecting tax on the body of it. No difficulty. I can. Rule 35 takes care of that position. When Rule 35 takes care of a position that I can issue an invoice without reflecting the tax on the body of the invoice, the burden of proof is on the supplier to show that the tax was a part and parcel of the price. That's all. There is no further difficulty under law. No further difficulty. You can go to section 15. You can also go to Rule 35. You can look at both. Now in both of these situations, what happens is, a composition supplier or a normal supplier of goods need not reflect, he need not reflect it. But credit for that will be available when he uploads it through GSTR1. When he uploads it through GSTR1, at that point in time, if you acknowledge saying that my price included the tax, you are entitled to your input tax credit. I don't see any difficulty there. I don't see any difficulty. But if the website does not caution you that you are effecting a purchase from a composite supplier, therein lies the difficulty. All of you sitting here can argue with me that it is easy to identify a composition supplier because there are only three classes of suppliers who can be composition suppliers. Whoever is a hotelier, etc., manufacturer, or a person who is selling goods. Now, latest amendment below 1.5 crores. I don't know whether he had opted for composition or whether because you have moved your threshold to 1.5 crores, he has opted for composition with retrospective effect from 1.4 because they have moved the composition date also now to 31st October. Man can opt, then I am finished. I have already claimed the input tax credit. If the man opts for composition, I am gone. I am gone. How am I going to identify that from the network? I cannot. I have no clue. I have no clue. Because a man who is 75 lakhs was moved to 1.5 crores, he can opt. 1 crore. He can opt. I am gone. Now there is no way I will be able to identify this. So if you look at VAT websites of Maharashtra or you look at VAT websites of Karnataka, the website said it was a composition dealer. There was an indication there. We need an indication in this website to say whether he is a composition dealer or not a composition dealer. Second, an input service distributor. No way you can identify an input service distributor although he requires a specialized registration. The registration number will be different, the last three codes or last three digits will be different. Apart from that, everything will be common. The only argument that you can take here, that is an input service distributor will issue an invoice to its entities alone and to none else. None else. In Bangalore, we have two instances already where an input service distributor's number has been misused for credits. Now the law takes its own course, but there is nothing here in the website which cautions me that it is an ISD's number. Nothing. He is a normal supplier is how this portal will tell you. I think this glitch, the software needs to be taken care of. An SEZ developer or an SEZ unit, no way you can figure out, because an SEZ, a unit can be an SEZ as well as a non-SEZ in the same state. Why in the same state? In the same city. One unit can be in an SEZ area, another can be in a non-SEZ area. Both need independent registrations. One mistake or one error in your GSTN number, finished. What will be a zero rated supply will become a taxable supply. Once you upload, there is no way you can add, alter, amend it. Now if you have done it for July in 3B, we have to wait and watch how we can amend those in GSTR 1, 2 or 3. We will have to wait and watch. Now, page 6. How do we establish movement of goods between unregistered persons? No difficulty between registered persons. We will use an e-waybill, e-waybill moved out, we will use your old, let's say electronic waybills, whatever, we will use delivery challan under Rule 55, we will do whatever is required. How do you establish movement of goods between two unregistered suppliers of either goods or services? Government has zero control. Zero control. This reverse charge was one of the mechanisms through which it could have brought under control. Now all that the government has done, this 9(4), to my mind, I know many of you will not like what I am telling you. This 9(4) was a mechanism to get hold of these dealers, who were not getting themselves registered, or a person liable to register who is not registered. You had an option to get hold of him here. All I wanted was Instead of 9.4 being at the rate of supply, if 9.4 was at a 1% rate, I don't think we would have suffered the way we are suffering under 9.4 now. Therefore, to my mind, 9.4 should be available on the statute book. 9.4 should of course be redrafted in a way to get hold of these people who are required to register but not registered, or transactions between two unregistered dealers to get them onto the portal so that the link or the supply chain is not lost. And somewhere the government gets its 1% revenue at least. For to that extent, 9.4 is required under law. You had unregistered dealer purchases under VAT law. Life was working fine, nothing went wrong. 9.4 we have difficulty because of the language employed in 9.4, which says a person who is not registered. Instead of saying that, if the law had said a person who is not liable to be registered, life would have been fine. Because of the language employed, we run into rough weather so far as 9.4 is concerned. 9.3 and 9.5 are notified classes of goods and services where we have no difficulty so far as GST is concerned. Now, how to prove that you are not required to obtain registration? Let us say, Joshi Saab issues me an invoice. I don't know whether he is required to register. He is going to turn around and tell me, I am below the threshold of 20 lakhs or below the threshold of 10 lakhs. I don't know. I have no idea. He may also be dealing only in exempted goods, but as a buyer, I don't know whether his goods are exempted and therefore he is not required to register. But he may be required to register because he effects a single purchase which is taxable under 9.4. 9.4. Now, look at the registration provision for the purpose of glitches. Does 24 override 9.4 or 9.4 overrides 24? 24 mandates registration if you effect a purchase from an unregistered dealer, a person who is required to register but who is not registered. So, yes, it's mandatory. Now, you have moved 9.4 to 2018, which means does 24 also move to 2018 automatically? No, it doesn't. Because it is not a referential legislation under law. Not a referential legislation. Therefore, if you effect a purchase which is taxable under 9.4, although exempt, the registration will be mandatory. Registration will be mandatory. Tax will not be payable. Registration will become mandatory according to me. This is the glitch. This is why I said this government doesn't think.
That is not postponed.
That is not postponed. That is not postponed. There you need to take registration, but tax becomes not payable. As simple as that. So this is where the government reacts in a knee-jerk way without thinking what is required to be done. Now, nobody will look at this registration requirement. Let's be honest about it. Therefore, in the example that I gave, Mr. P.C. Joshi's case, he may genuinely be below 20 lakhs. Genuinely. But he may have a transaction taxable under reverse charge, consequently exempt. But he still requires registration under the goods and service tax law. Therefore, 9.4, you have to be very, very careful when we audit and take tax positions for the purpose of registration. Next, e-waybill. Now, e-waybill, yes sir.
This reverse charge 9.4, they are saying they will abolish it. Will it happen by notification or do they have to?
No. Don't go by the language employed in press releases and circulars. Don't go. Twitter, if you read, you will have no respect from good practitioners. Because Twitter is written by clerks who have no idea of the law. Right? You have seen how Twitters and those FAQs which come in newspapers come. You take out the first set of FAQs and the last set of FAQs, you have two different answers for the same question. So don't go by all that. 9.4 according to me will not be abolished, but they will issue a notification to say that the operationalization of 9.4 will be made effective 1/4/2014. I'm sorry, 1/4/2018. That is how they will do it.
Once the section has been brought into force, can they withdraw operationality from the section?
Go read section 11, it is perfectly possible. Under 11.
Notification which is brought into force section 9.
Yeah,
They
they,
will have
Exactly.
amended it so as to exclude that.
1/4/18.
Yes.
Fully agree. Fully agree. Because if you recall the notification which came on 27th June or 29th June, if I'm right, where they operationalized all the sections. There they will turn around and say that this will be operational 1/4/2018. Difficulty will be for this period. Somebody is going to go to court. That I'm clear. Somebody is going to go to court. Because for this 3.5 months,
It will amount to repeal of a primary legislation by a notification. That will
No, maybe you don't ask me legal questions constitutionally. For me, it's extremely difficult to answer. Right? Because I don't know constitution, let me be honest. And I admit that I don't know about it. Two, whether it is a possible because it's a beneficial legislation. Perfectly possible. Will somebody go to court? An affected party can go to court. Because, I'm saying why, I'll tell you why. They will use your own argument. Whatever you said is actually a good argument. I will use that. Because if you are not going to give me refund of taxes paid or restrict my input tax credit, I will use the argument which you use now to say, how can you do this? I have already paid tax. It was operational for 3.5 months. Overnight you have removed it and you are not giving me refund. Affected party will. But a man who has not paid tax under reverse charge under 9(4), he will be happy, he will be sitting quiet. He will enjoy. Correct? So it is perfectly possible. It's actually a good argument. Right? Now, whether it is legally right, that's the question I am saying. The question that I have asked there is whether it is legally right. Honestly, constitutionally I am unable to answer whether it is legally right. But a beneficial legislation, enough decisions are there, can be retrospective. But a beneficial legislation, when it goes against you, then life becomes miserable. You will actually go to court, whether it is legally right or wrong, because you want that input tax credit, right? You want that refund. Now if you don't get that, whether it is legally right, it's legally wrong.
Mafatlar, once again, a beneficial provision, if at all it is benefiting to me or not, I need to decide.
I need to decide, yes. Now, if you let Rajat fight this case, you will say take input tax credit. Take input tax credit, Morning madam. Take input tax credit. I recognize the presence of Nikita madam. Taxable persons are forced to carry e-way bills. I will skip this because this is moved on. Next. Provisional registrations in case of migration. Is GST liable to be collected? I have only 2 examples in my own office. In your offices, each of you will have innumerable number of examples on account of migration. Actually, migration itself is not done in a few cases. I don't have a GSTN number. I am sure you search your offices, you will have 5 files where it's not migrated.
Sir, there.
Sorry?
Banks have no registration.
Exactly. They don't have. Now, how do they collect tax? If they collect tax, will it become my input tax credit? Or if I am in that position where I am not migrated but I am issuing invoice, can I collect tax? Will it become unauthorized collection of tax? God alone can answer this. God alone can answer. But if you are not migrated, you have collected tax, it will become unauthorized collection of tax liable for forfeiture, and from the date on which you are registered, provisions from 22 to 27 will apply to you, 22 to 26 will apply to you for the purpose of collection and payment of tax post registration. You can land with a double whammy. Now this has to be sorted out by the GST Council quite quickly, because I am of the firm belief that a substantial number of dealers have not yet migrated, or having migrated, they have not raised invoices, or having migrated, not raised invoices, they don't know what to do because they don't have a TIN number. All these situations are prevalent. I know in my office it is prevalent. I am certain it is prevalent in Maharashtra also and all other cities. So we need to figure that out. That is a solid glitch in law. Now look at the situation of the second bullet there. The option to cancel your registration was opened only end July, to be precise 27th July. Right? My threshold under service tax law was 9 lakhs or 10 lakhs under old law. You made me 20 lakhs going forward from July. I was unable to cancel my registration because you automatically migrated me. What will happen to my tax? I have raised invoices without tax because my threshold was 20 lakhs. My threshold was, sorry.
Now they are amending, they will allow.
No, but today also that window is not open.
Not open.
Window is not open.
No, it's not open, it's all right, but then they have provided.
So they have provided, but what is, sir, my July return, what do I do, sir?
The professional is waiting to deposit the check. He is
Yes.
worried.
Now look at my problem. What do I do in such a situation? I have I have nowhere to go.
I will help you.
this certainly is a glitch we will have to take care of. Now, can revised invoices be sought or issued in case of delay in obtaining GST registration, where delay is on account of website issues? Now, Rajat says yes. But my belief is how? How? How can I issue a revised invoice for a transaction for which I have already issued an invoice? I cannot. Now take a case where there is a rate change, Rajat bhai. Originally I charged 5%. You exempted that 5% for me on your September 22nd or August 17th notification. Can I revise my invoice? If yes, net value, exactly.
You don't need to revise invoice.
Credit note, debit note.
Debit, credit.
Yes, credit note, debit note. But if you do any of that, I will not allow you input tax credit. I will also tell you why. I will tell you why I will not allow you input tax credit. Tax originally collected, 3B filed in July, buyer or recipient has taken credit of input tax. That is why I originally said, when a notification is retrospective, either I will tell you it is an unauthorized collection of tax forfeited. Alternatively, if I am a good officer, I will tell you, okay, you have paid net tax also remitted, therefore it is fine, life goes on. Third option is, input tax credit I will disallow because output tax is exempt on these transactions. Input tax credit claimed I will launch your penal provisions or penal proceedings I will launch. All are open. Now, whether in those cases, how do we get over this situation? To get over this situation, if this glitch can be resolved, if the government amends your invoice provisions to say wherever these notifications were issued granting exemptions, you are permitted to issue a revised invoice, my life becomes that much easier because GSTN I am just uploading now. I am uploading GSTR1 now. Perfectly fine. Allow me to revise my 3B, allow me to amend my GSTR1. Everybody's life settles. But this the government must think. Next. What would happen in case of revision of return after furnishing of Tran 1? Now, originally, this Tran 1 form was not open for revision. Correct? It was not open for revision. Now the government says you can revise once. Once you can revise. Now, let me tell you what happened in Bangalore. On the ground, I must tell you what happened in reality. Lot of people in their anxiety to get the credit because they did not have cash flows. They had to take the credits. What they did, right or wrong, they filed one Tran 1. God was on their side. They said you can revise this Tran 1 which came in later. But what they did, they filed their Tran 1. Once they filed their Tran 1, they realized that 5A, 5B, 5C, 6, 7, 7A tables were required to be filled up. The fellow just took Senvat credit, he filed his return. Because for him that was very important to claim that credit in that month. He had no cash flows. So he took that credit. Now what has happened? He moved down to table 5A, 5B, 5C which talks of your C form, non-issue of F form, non-receipt of C form, etc. Once he moved down there, he realized that boss I have to declare this. Entire provisions of 141 and 142 he has to fill in that table. Now he is stuck. Now look at this position. I will revise my Tran 1. No difficulty. Law allows me to revise my Tran 1. All I need to do is to give you one notice to say you have not maintained books of accounts in the normal course of business because in Tran 1 you had X as input tax credit which you availed for the purpose of carry forward through your last returns. Now it has become Y. Show cause why I should not prosecute you or initiate penal proceedings. You have to run 50 times to that fellow's office. This is what is going to happen when you revise Tran 1. And trust me, people have just filed Tran 1 left, right and center. Including large companies have filed this left, right and center in their anxiety to take input tax credit on the last day. I can give you examples of entities like TVS which has done this. Because it's a substantive input tax credit. But collation of data for the purpose of others. Good morning, sir. Welcome, Mr. Nankani, sir. For the purpose of availment of credits, this form has been filed. But look at the situation now. When Tran 1 is revised, you get notices for revision of returns, you need to explain or consequently be ready for penal provisions is not something which I would like to want to reply to. I don't want to reply to, but this is a certainty. Now look at how the government threatens. This is where I have a problem. The government says there is something like 60,000 or 90,000 crores of input tax credits that you people have claimed through transition. They say every person who has claimed a transition credit of more than 1 crore, you will be subject to scrutiny. You will be subject to scrutiny. Now, in one breath, the government says we have glitches in GST law. In another breath, the government says, I trust all of you people, like as if you are my sons and daughters. On the third side, it says all you fellows will be subject to scrutiny by way of issue of notice. On the fourth side, he says, I will allow you to revise only once, don't talk beyond that, I will not let you. On the fifth side, he says, 3B you file, I will not allow you to revise that. But in GSTR 1, you set that right. Between 3B and GSTR 1, both are my returns for the same month, for the same period. Both relate to output supplies. Why are you not letting me to reconcile or revise my own return as per my books and records? I did not know what supply was earlier. I only knew what goods was. I did not know what service was. I did not know what a combination of goods and service was. Therefore, I did not declare. Are you not allowing me to revise my own return to rectify? What kind of logic is this? I don't understand. If this is not a glitch, what else is this under the goods and service tax law? Next.
Sir, one major issue, as we have said, not in the state of Maharashtra, but everywhere on the group of our AFTP group, what we refer, if I have got an excise credit only, and I have not referred, I do not have taken VAT credit, there may be excess set of I have claimed refund, and I have not declared the pending declaration from 1/4/2015. So in such and such case, whether it is advisable to revise tranche 1 showing all the declaration or keep my excise credit which I have taken as it is.
Now if you go to, please answer. So if you go to rule 145 of the state level state level GST rules of all states, you go to Joshi Saab or Nankani Saab, they will always tell you section overrides the rule. They will tell you it is substance over form. Because this is what the law has told them over 50 years. So this is exactly what they will tell you. Section overrides the rule overrides the form, substance overrides the form. This is a settled position of law. Nobody can change it, and that is the law even today. Having said that, if you read 145, rule 145, it does not say that you have to declare pending form. This is what my colleague Pritish also keeps telling me. All that you will have to declare under 145 is if you have availed credit.
Corresponding.
Yes. Now I will look at it completely differently. You go to that form in Tran 1. You go to Tran 1. You read the verification part. Now Joshi sir will change his mind. It says, when you fill up this form, it says, I swear that no part of this form is inappropriate, incorrect, or any information concealed. If you don't declare your form, is it not a concealment? You are open to prosecution under 131. You are open to prosecution. Now any advocate will fight your case, but before that you are inside on a Friday evening. Seriously. That's what they do, let's be honest. Correct, Hannah sir? One Friday evening he will put you inside. 2 days you will be there. Monday your bail will come. Sorry, huh?
Saturday evening.
Saturday evening, yes. Sorry, but this is how the law operates. But this is how it operates. Therefore my suggestion is, whatever is there, you fill it up. But if you want to say that it does not apply, say so in that column. Say, in terms of rule 145, I need not fill up this column. But don't leave it blank or don't give incorrect information there. It will amount to concealment. It will amount to concealment. You furnish information there and say in terms of 145, then any advocate will be able to fight your case. But if you don't file or furnish incorrectly, you have no case. Nobody will be able to do. Friday evening will be sure shot. Right? Next.
Sir, one question.
Yes, sir.
Sir, suppose the C form. Suppose if my customer is not able to give my C forms, technically
Server.
then whether I have to revise my transfers.
No. If your customer is not able to give you C-form, two reasons. Mr. Joshi sir is already prompting me. One, it is downloadable. Now, why he is not able to issue C-form? Because he is not permitted to issue C-form, one part, or he has closed his business, therefore not able to issue C-form. Two, whether he cannot or he does not want to issue C-form for whatever reason but wants to pay you the difference. All three options are possible. Maybe you have other options also. Now, in any of these cases, if you don't get or receive C-form, your liability is under old law. Your liability is under old law. Therefore, you revise your return for that year, that tax period, pay up your tax plus interest there, no penalty, pay up your tax plus interest there, and accordingly declare your transition turnovers here. Here you don't need to pay the tax, pay it under old law.
But how will the transition get impacted then?
So transition will get impacted, I will tell you why. Just wait for 2-3 slides, I'll show you how transition will hit you. I have got a screenshot there.
Sir, I have one query regarding service tax input tax credit we have taken into the class 1. In one of my client case, there was some credit available and we have taken it.
Carry it forward.
Carried forward, yeah. That credit increased after audit. But the time limit for revised return is
September 30 was over.
45 days. You have to.
No sir, September 30, August 15 was,
45 days.
yeah.
45 days was there. Actually, it is 90 days, but for this period, they have kept 45 days.
it's correct. What he's saying, for June quarter, it is August 15th is the original return. For revised return, there was 6 weeks, which was September 30.
Right.
Yes.
Delayed revised return also can be.
Yes sir.
So, we are not able to revise that service tax return.
No sir, because the portal does not allow you.
Old act there is a provision, there is a judgment
Sir, the
also.
service.
So Mike sir, Mike sir.